Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again doing what I do, which is going for a walk in beautiful locations such as this, in the wilds, in the forests of Suffolk, near where I live, and giving you my thoughts on everything from art to politics and everything in between. If you're new here, if it's your first time, welcome. This is what I do. I hope you enjoy it. If you're a returning subscriber, all 786 of you I think there are today, welcome back. It is an honour and a privilege to have you all along for the journey. So thank you very much, one and all, for being here. Straighten that up a little bit. So I brought you here to this little town near my home in Suffolk. It's a little town called Dunwich. Beautiful little spot. I'm going to take you up here. You can love it. It's a great place. Before we get into the conversation for today, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a reminder that all the panic and nonsense and fear and worry and doubt that we hear in the world every day, you have to separate yourself from it and remind yourself that the world really is a beautiful place. And you come to places like this and it reminds you, don't take it all too seriously. You've got to be able to look around you, recognize the beauty in the world, and don't get too worried about it. Now, let's get on with the show, shall we? So, I don't know about you, but I think the hardest part about 2 weeks to flatten the curve has been the first 2 years. We are going through this period right now, this transition, and it is a transition from everyone believing the narrative, everyone just going along and thinking, oh, it's the scariest thing in the world that's been happening for the last year and a half. We have to do something. We have to do something. To, wait a minute, something's not right here. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Something's not right here. And if you're in that group of people that is looking at things and going, hang on, something's not right here, welcome to the party. For this channel here, I've been doing this for about, just over a year, I think, and talking about my thoughts on what's been happening for the last year and everything. Don't worry, it's about lots of different things, but mostly about what we've been living through for the last year and a half, coming up to 2 years. 2 weeks to flatten the curve, remember? But the oddities that are bubbling to the surface as we go through this period, and it is very, very odd, the oddities that are bubbling to the surface is what's making people go, hold on, something's not right here. It's not. There's a lot of things that aren't right, but I spoke to a good friend of mine today who's even questioning and going, yeah, something's not right. So the something's not right. What is that about? Look at this. Look at something. Speaking of something not right, look where I am. This is a place called Dunwich Abbey. It's a beautiful, beautiful place right now. It really is. Some old historic buildings around this way. Forest, the seaside. I mean, who wouldn't want to live here? It's amazing. So there you go. In the background there, it's the Dunwich Abbey. Anyway, let's keep on walking and talk about the subject for today. Now, if you to do what I do here, this channel, to go and be able to talk about these subjects that we talk about, it requires a lot of reading, a lot of understanding, a lot of history, looking at history, and trying to look at things that are outside of the spectrum of what can be considered to be mainstream or normal. Let's put it that way. Okay, so I have to look at a lot of mainstream stuff, and I have to look at a lot of stuff that sort of would be considered conspiratorial or fringe or alternative media, for instance, to be able to bring you a sort of a broader spectrum view on the events that are taking place that make people go, something's not right here. Okay, so obviously with this platform here, with YouTube, we have to be very careful with the words that we use, because if it doesn't fit with the standards that are almost impossible to keep, and the standards that are set by organisations like the UN and WHO and those kind of organisations, we have to work to their standards of what we're allowed to say. Allowed to say. What we're allowed to say. I'll repeat that again. What we are allowed to say. That should be the first thing that should make you go, something's not right. I'm not allowed to say some words. I'm not allowed to say. I don't think I've ever, well, actually, I don't think I've used those words. I'm not allowed to say something since I was 5. I'm not allowed to say some words. I'm not allowed to say some words. And those words don't hurt people. It's not like they're hurtful, they're harmful. It's not like I'm trying to get somebody to do something against themselves or other people. I'm not trying to incite something, but I'm not allowed to say some words in a public forum. I'm not allowed to say some words. So that's the first one that should really sort of make you go, well, you know, in America it's the what do they call that? The First Amendment, which is the right to be able to speak. You know, as we go through these things, you should really say to yourself, what's well, yeah, let's not ask that question just yet. We'll get back to it, okay? So the first thing that should make you go, something's not right here, that you're not allowed to say certain words, and they're being restricted by non-governmental organisations. So we have organisations that are outside of the governance of your country, wherever you live, okay? Whether you live in Australia, Canada, America, it doesn't really matter. Outside governance that you don't vote for, by the way, even the people you do vote for, you don't vote for, because we've been through that, remember? Leaders are not elected, they're selected. There's a difference. If you don't know what the difference between elected and selected, maybe go and have a look at, brush up on your English language skills and understand what those two words mean, elected and selected, okay? So, non-governmental organisations are deciding what you can and can't say. Okay? Think about that. You're not allowed to say certain things in a public forum. Not that they're harmful or hurtful or inciting violence. There's laws for that. There's laws for that. You're not allowed to, like, for instance, you're not allowed to run into a cinema and scream fire. That's illegal. Fair enough. I think we can all agree that's fair enough. But being able to give your opinion, your thoughts and opinions in a public forum, you're not allowed to. Okay? There's the first one. Secondly, as we move forward with these new rules, restrictions, things like the passport and the green pass and the muzzle, you know, the muzzle that you have to wear over your face as a sign of compliance, all those things, firstly I have to ask the question, do they work? Social distancing, the masks, the thing that they want to stick in you. Yeah, look, while we're at that as well, okay? So the thing that they want to stick in you, okay? The thing that you're being pressured to stick in you, okay? No one's liable. No one. Not the manufacturer, not the government that's trying to force you to do it, not your employer that's trying to force you to do it, not the non-governmental organisations that are trying to force you to do it. None of them are liable. But you're liable if you don't have it. That's another thing you should be maybe going, something's not right here. I speak to people every day about these things. I make videos about these things. I bang my head against the wall, and it just seems like, you know, I'm pointing these things out. Right? Does this not make sense to you? Does this make sense? I mean, honestly, does any of it make sense? Of course it doesn't. Yeah, it's not designed to make sense. It's not about making sense. It's about control. It's making sure that you do what you're told. So, as we move through this nonsense that we're moving through, what's happening now? You know, I did a video about this about a month ago, I think, a little bit longer maybe, where I spoke about Hearts and Minds campaign, where we have to win people over in order for us to move forward, because the only way we can move forward is together. Obviously, a lot of us will never have that thing. The miracle juice or the Fauci ouchie, or whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. I will never have it. Nothing will make me have it. Nothing at all, you know. And the governments of the world realise that there are people like me. There's a lot. And you, possibly, if you're watching this. Maybe you've had one. Fair enough. You know, maybe. If you have, you know, that was your call. You know, why would you make that decision? It's beyond me, but, you know, maybe you did. I will never have one. And the governments of the world are starting to realise that there are people like me that will never, ever, ever give in. And now they're trapped. Because they've got to come up with a way they can convince people like me that they really do work. That you really should go and have them, those things that you stick in you. You know, the first three, I should go and have the first three because they really do work. Okay? They really work. And because they really work, you should go and have it. Right? That's the argument. Now, to the other people who've already had it, they've got to convince them the first two didn't work, and that's why you've got to go and get some more boosters. I mean, how do you paint yourself into a corner like that? How do you paint yourself into a corner by saying to one group of people, oh, it doesn't work, and then to another group of people you just have to say, well, it works so well. Lunacy. Well, that should make you go, that's a bit strange as well, don't you think? But then they're going to introduce, you know, as I was saying before, do muzzles work? Social distancing work? Does that thing work? If all these things work, then why are we having to go back and do the same thing again? Does it only work for a short time? Is it like, yeah, oh yeah, but this thing only works, but it's only for 2 weeks or a month or whatever it is. All these measures that the governments are now employing, again, more lockdowns because they worked so well the first time because they just stopped everything. All the measures that we've already employed that didn't work, we're re-employing those again. All these things, all the measures that we're talking about, all the things that they want to put in place, all the measures, all the lockdowns, all the, you know, the make sure if you haven't had the magic juice that you can't go to the supermarket and get your shopping. Because that's not segregation. It's not. It's not segregation. It's, you know, it wasn't right to do that, have segregation back in the 50s, back when we said to people with a different colour skin than ours, you know, not that we did that. The government did that, right? The segregation was law. Did that make the law right? Did that make that law right, where they had segregation, where they had people with a different coloured skin have to sit in a different place on the bus? Did that make that law right? Because that was law. That was law. Did that make the law right? Of course it didn't. Didn't make it right then, didn't make it right now. But yet people are advocating. The average person is advocating for separation of people, for segregation. But if you were to say to them, if you were to say to those same people that are advocating for segregation of the people who haven't had the magic juice, right? If you were to say, is it okay to segregate those people that haven't had it to make sure they can't go to the supermarket? They say, of course it is. They're going to kill me. But then if you said the same thing, but what about that black person over there? What about that black person? They haven't had it either. Now what are you going to do? Because if you tell them you can't go to the supermarket, that makes you a racist. Fuck. What are we going to do? What are we going to do about all the black people that won't have it? Oh, God. Gee. Do you see what the problem is? segregation isn't correct. It's not right. And anybody who's advocating for that is either a fucking moron or is corrupt. I'd say every politician who's advocating for that is corrupt and a moron. But, you know, that's just me. I'm a bit skeptical about politicians. What can I say? Just to say the very least. I don't believe a fucking word they say. Right, so segregation isn't right. I think we can all agree that. No matter what colour skin you have, no matter what your sexual orientation, I don't care about none of it. Segregation on any grounds is incorrect. And if we are thinking about segregation, do we say, sorry, segregation's okay in some places but not in others? So let's outline where segregation is okay before we move forward. Is that fair? I think that's fair. Then we have a look at the segregation on the medical grounds, okay? So if you haven't had your magic juice, then they're saying, well, you shouldn't have access to the hospital. Okay, let's kick down that door, shall we? So should we also make the same rules, like if you're a smoker, if you smoke cigarettes, that you shouldn't have access to healthcare either, because, well, not only are you killing yourself, but those people around you as well by secondhand smoke. Should we deny you healthcare as well? What about morbidly obese people? Sorry, I must have the Rona. Yeah, no, maybe it's Omicron. Oh my God, I've got Omicron, I'm gonna die. So nobody in the world has died from it yet, so maybe I'll be the first. Maybe I won't, because maybe nobody will. What about morbidly obese people who are eating themselves to death? Sorry. What about those people? Should we deny them healthcare as well? What about AIDS patients? Should we deny them healthcare? Because, you know, they're obviously dangerous to other people as well. Where do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line? As I go through this whole, I do apologise. Shit. But as we go through all these kind of things, you have to realise at some point and go, something's not right. I've got friends who've been part of this conversation the whole time, part of the argument, and arguing on behalf of the government standpoint where, oh, you know, it's the deadliest thing that's ever happened on the world. But now they're starting to see and go, hold on, something doesn't make sense. And if we go back to Omicron, and we go to South Africa where it came from, how did it leave South Africa? That's what I want to know. How did it leave South Africa? How did it leave South Africa if everyone's had the magic juice to be able to get on a plane, and you have to wear one of those muzzles when you're on the plane, you have to do a test before you get on the plane? How did Omicron get from South Africa around the whole world? I mean, you know, obviously, I'm too stupid to understand. So, I mean, if somebody else can help me with this, I'd be really appreciative. Because I don't understand. I don't get it. Maybe I am just that stupid. And why is it? Maybe that's the other thing I wanted to know as well. Being the uneducated swine that I am, how is it that everyone who's got the Omicron has already had the magic juice? Strange, don't you think? I think it's very strange. Oh, God, I should have brought a drink of water with me, I think. Choking down my own spittle. Now, all these things, and the reason I bring them to you today, all these questions that we should be asking, and all these things that are standing out, I do apologise, all these things that are standing out, and they're standing out obviously. You know, I said about a while ago as well, we're talking about the Mandela effect. And the Mandela effect is bringing things to our consciousness, into the public consciousness, into our psyche, that are so obviously out of whack with what we all know to be true, that it makes us question this reality. And I think that's one of the things that's going on. All these things that are standing out, they're so off kilter, they're so weird, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. None. Zero. Are there designed to wake us all up to go, hey, woo, something's not right. Something is not right here with this reality that we're experiencing. But what do we do with that? You know, as things get more and more off kilter, a bit out of whack, and more of these things start to show up that make people go, hold on, something's not right. We have to make sure that everybody sees those things. We have to make sure that they stand out. We have to make sure that all those people around us that are bought into the narrative see it. And rather than the other thing I get a lot is, how do I introduce information to my friends who don't want to listen? Now, anybody who's been here on this journey with me for any period of time would know that I've been talking about my friends. I started this whole journey on Facebook, doing Facebook Live videos. The majority of my friends think I'm insane. They do. They do. They think I'm nuts. And that's fair enough. Maybe I am. Maybe in this society that we live in, I am considered nuts because I don't want to be considered normal in a society as broken as the one we live in. And it is, because the way that people are with each other and all that kind of stuff. But the point I'm trying to get there is most of my friends think I'm insane. And I've been trying everything in my power to try and introduce information that runs counter to the narrative, or introduce information that makes you question the narrative and say, you know what, something doesn't make sense here, maybe we should question it. And how can you best introduce that information without seeming to try to tear your friends apart, or your family, or people that you're meeting? Doesn't matter, anybody around you. Because none of us want to create rifts, but they're already there, you know, especially our family that are scared and worried and all those kind of things. Those rifts already exist, because what does it mean if we're right? What does it mean if everything I've been saying on all these videos is correct, that the government doesn't give a fuck about you, that there is a concerted push to be rid of a lot of us, depopulation? Oh no, my government would never do that. Oh no, Boris wouldn't do that. Boris loves me. He doesn't give a fuck about you, doesn't give a fuck about me, or anybody else for that matter. None of us. None of the politicians give a rat's ass. Start there. But how do you share information? You can't. Sharing numbers doesn't work. Statistical information doesn't work. Scientific studies doesn't work. I know, I've tried it. There's nothing you can do there. People who are 100% bought into it will never change their mind, will never change their tune, and will continue to believe it no matter what you share. Other people who are, not really bothered either way, they will maybe look at some of the information. But the most effective way that you can get this information across to people is by pointing out the inconsistencies in the stories that we're being told. Say, okay, so we are going into another lockdown now. Why is that? If lockdowns work, why do we need to do it more than once? Oh, but it's a new variant. Okay, how did the variant get from one country to another country? With all the testing and everything else we have to do to be able to move around this world. How did it move around? But the tests aren't 100% effective, because don't you know anything? Actually, the tests are 93% ineffective. 99% probably. False positives. But no, I just want to know, how does it move around the world? And all you've got to do is just point out these inconsistencies. and like I've spoken about it before. I mean, TheMatrix is by far my favourite movie, but I talk about some other ones as well, like Inception. What's Inception about? The entire movie is about planting the seed to get somebody to think that the idea is their own. Because if you try and tell somebody, and we've spoken about this before, psychologists, psychiatrists, their whole process of how they treat people, how they deal with people, is by asking questions. They ask them questions to get them to answer their own question. Because if I try and tell you what the answer is, you're going to deny it. Say, that's not who I am, that's not why, Whereas if you ask a question in such a way that you're asking a question of that person, they have to answer themselves. The answer doesn't come from you, it comes from them. So by pointing out the inconsistencies and asking questions of the people who are trying to convince you, and they will, or try and guilt you into doing something that you don't want to do because they want you to feel guilty about it, then just ask some poignant questions. Ask those questions of them that don't make any sense. That's all you need to do. And keep on looking for the inconsistencies in the narrative, and look for the change in the narrative as well. Most important, as we move forward, the narrative is going to change very, very quickly. And there's going to be a whole pile of new narratives that are going to be introduced into this whole reality that we experience. Watch for a new introduction, aliens. Aliens, alien technology, alien invasion. That's going to be one of the new things that are going to be brought into the public consciousness, into the psyche. It's coming. Aliens, alien invasion, technology, whatever. Alien, something is coming. Okay? What else are we going to have? New terrorist attacks. We're going to have sunspot activity. They're going to try and claim is climate change. We're going to have asteroids. We're going to have a bunch of different narratives that are going to be injected into our consciousness to distract us away from the current narrative that we have that's failing. Okay? So look for the narrative change. And make sure you're pointing this out to people as the narratives continue to change. Make sure you're pointing that out to people, because these are the kinds of things that make people question what's going on, and we need to question it. And the only way we're going to get past this is when we all say, enough, no more, I do not comply. And that's what it's all about. This whole video today is about making you recognize that we need to ask questions, especially of those around us that want to push us into a direction that we don't want to go to. Ask questions, and if they can't answer them, then say go away and find the answers. We can't fight with people, we can't bash them down, we can't beat them down. We have to do it in such a way that we're introducing information that makes them ask the question rather than us constantly trying to push the answer on them, because then it's not coming from us, it has to come from them. Remember that. If you remember that, we're going to do it really well together, and we're all going to move on together rather than constantly going down the same route and traveling the same road and getting the same response and the same answers and getting to the same place. So, all that said, as I finish all my videos, go out into the world, do good and be good. And we can actually change the world with the way that we do things, with the way we talk, with the way we interact with each other. And what we do in the world will change it for the positive if we want it to, but we all must do it together. So, that said, go out, do some good, do good, be good, look after yourself and look after each other, and we can change the world. All right, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you real soon. Take care of yourself. Ciao for now.